Omega Live TV. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. We in the studios here are very glad, and I hope you at home are glad to be with us, that the Lord has allowed and permitted you to be alive today. We bless God for your life. Tonight we are proudly sponsored by Omega House Multimedia. Omega House Multimedia are experts in graphic design, photography and videography. So if you're having any events, and you need any invitations, flyers, posters, business cards, stationery, envelopes, whatever you need, be in stationery, be in a graphic design, be in a photography, videography, just don't hesitate to call them on 020-852-3359. They are located on 74 West Green Road, N15 5NS. For short, if you want to find them, just get off at Seven Sisters Station and ask for West Green Road. They are located on number 74. Tonight we're also proudly sponsored by Blooming Sun. Blooming Sun is located opposite the bus garage in Tottenham, in the Benny Grant Art Center. If you're around there and you need a quick meal, just pop into their cafe and they will look after you. Don't forget to mention My Life is My Testimony and you will get a great discount. Tonight, another sponsor also is Gem Educational Consultancy. They are experts in all sorts of UK degree and master's degrees. If you need any consultation, they will help you find a school, find a program, and then they will also help you get funding up to the tune of 21,000. I believe that their details will be on screen, and later on I'll be giving you more details on that. Tonight I am once again excited to be with you. Don't forget, if you have not liked our page, Omega Live TV Facebook page, just hit that like button right now. And you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also don't forget to hit that notification button so that when we go live you are notified. Tonight I cannot wait to unveil our minister who is coming to share his mind-blowing testimony. But before we do so, we have our resident pastor, Pastor Evangelist Bright Adadi, who was not with us for a while, but thank God that he's back with us, and I'm sure he has a lot to share, with us from wherever he went to, and you're welcome, Evangelist Bright Adadi. Yeah.
Thank you, Bedford. Good evening.
It was a while that
yes,
you went around, and we thank God that he's brought you back safely, and
that's right.
Share with us a word or two.
First and foremost, thank you, Bedford, and also I'd like to give thanks to the Almighty God, who has given me the privilege and the grace, and given me the traveling mercies to go to Ghana and come back. Wow. When I was in Ghana, it was such an experience. Ghana is one place that you see and you learn a lot in terms of how much people are so much into the faith and the belief of God. A lot of people got zeal and passion for God. But one thing you do also find out is, I may be biased and I may say they are very, very much a lot of predominantly Christian and much into the faith. But what it is that as much zeal and as much passion they show, sometimes one of the things I saw many people even in such poverty still praising and worshiping God, and you even putting their life on the line for the sake of the gospel. And I met many different people who are out there sharing the gospel at this end times, sending the message of the Lord out there to save souls. I would like to say hello to Lufa Afewa, who's doing a great job with his team in Accra, sharing the good news. Also in Kumasi, to Evangelist Akosiewa, who I met, who's doing a great job and who has been doing and sharing the message of the gospel. Like I said, they have got the zeal and the passion, but it just sometimes it's carried away in the way that they find a way to worship God. In which way, one thing you get is even in a working day where someone is meant to be going to work, they will leave all they're doing in terms of work and go out there to worship God. You see, that's distorted worship. That's where you have to know that when even work is not going well and it's not, who are you gonna blame? Are you gonna say that's where a lot of people go back and say, oh, I need to pray to God more so that my business will go well? And this is some of the reason. And also there's a lot of You see, there's a lot of, at the moment, a lot of false prophets and false works of things that are around as well in the country, where they're deceiving so many. And that's what I'm coming to now. You know, we are in the last days. Everything head up to the last days. You know, where this, you know, as it says in Matthew 24, where, you know, the disciples asked Jesus, you know, they said, you know, tell us, or show us when, or tell us when these things will be, or which would there be a sign that we will know. And he said that when you know, in the end times, you hear that, you know, rumors of wars. There will be wars, nation rising against nations. There will be, you know, there will be a lot of civil unrest and lawlessness. There will be earthquakes and devious things. There will be a lot of, you know, evil on the rise. There will be, you know, false prophets that will rise up and they will deceive many. Some will come even in his name. And, there will, you know, all these things will happen. Once you start seeing all these things happening and you start seeing evil growing more and more, you should know that, you know, it's close to the ends, you know, the signs of the end time. And, you know, he says that even that many people, love will grow cold, where people will betray each other, where all these things will be happening. And these are things that we should know, that everything around us at the moment shows that we are coming towards the end of the time. And, you know, when he says that when you see these signs happening, know that we are working towards that. So, you know, you know, listeners and everyone that's watching us tonight, you know, just know that, you know, there's one thing that is given to man, as he says in Hebrews 9 verse 27. It says, first to die and after that is judgment. Yeah. One thing you need to do, are you preparing yourself for the second coming of Christ? Because when he's coming, he's not coming in mercy. He's coming as a judge. He's coming in his glory. Because he's already paid the price for you, as he says in John 3:16. He said, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. He says that God didn't send his son to condemn the world, that through him that the world will be saved. Yeah. So through him is the one that the world will be saved. It says whoever has not believed in him is already condemned themselves, because they chose to condemn themselves. And, you know, we need to know that what are the things that we need to come to Christ and accept him as our Lord and Savior. That's the first thing. Being sanctified by his blood, you know, and also walking in righteousness. Righteousness is a walk. It's a lifestyle. It's, you know, once you're saved, you think that's it. It's a walk. It's a work in progress. And also, he says holiness. It's because it's as he says, you know, without holiness, no one will see God. Right. So we need to prepare ourselves and build ourselves. That, you know, that if our clothes was stained, we need to, you know, get it, wash it, and be like the three virgin. You know, the three wise virgin. One of them was ready, prepared, and he was waiting for Christ. You know, I would like to share, you know, a scripture that we know about righteousness, that we should know that in these end times. You know, if before we go to our guests, you know, as he says in Jeremiah 33 verse 3, says that, you know, call unto me and I'll show you great things which you do not know. God wants to show us mysteries. He wants to show us different things. You know, as he says in Psalms 37 verse 25, you know, he says that, you know, I've been young, I've been old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken. We've never seen the righteous. You know, when you walk in righteousness, he says that even for out of your righteousness, he bless your children, your descendants, and all those. So it's a walking lifestyle when you're walking in righteousness. You know, when we say Jesus is coming, he's coming. One thing people need to know is, even if Jesus hasn't come, the day you die, if you was to die today, because nobody knows what's one thing that's hidden from man. If you was to die today, that's your Jesus come. Are you ready to meet your Savior? That's a question you must ask.
It's a powerful question.
God bless you, Evangelist Bright, you know, for that powerful word. And I believe that, you know, it will touch someone out there. Brethren, beloved, I will at this moment encourage you to share this video with someone. Call someone and say, hey, it's once again time for My Life is My Testimony. We are just about to introduce our guest for today, and before I do that, I just want you to call someone, share this video with someone, share this on your Facebook page, share this on your Instagram page, share this on, through your WhatsApp, whatever channel that you are watching us. Remember, this is Omega Live TV, and this is My Life is My Testimony. Please don't forget to like the page and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Tonight, I'm very glad to bring your way a very, very anointed man of God. He is an author of 3 books, and he is into the ministry and the work of God. I cannot list them all because there are a lot of things that he does. But yes, in short, he is a mighty man of God. I want to introduce you to you tonight Brother Isaac Benjamin-Nyarko. Hello, Brother Isaac.
Hello.
You are welcome to My Life is My Testimony tonight, and we are very glad, for you to have honored our invitation to come and share your testimony with us and our viewers as well. And I believe that as you share your testimony, a lot of lives will be transformed, today through, your personal life experience and your walk with God and how you came to God. I believe someone out there will be blessed. Brother Isaac,
yes.
Let's just go straight to the point. What is your testimony? You can just start by telling us, about how you were brought up, your family background, and we can take it from there.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm also honored for your invitation. I don't take it lightly.
Thank you.
There are many men of God that come onto Facebook Live, and I look up to them. And here I am also. Someone is calling me to also give my testimony. So I'm humble. Thank you very much. I was born in Pig Farm in Accra.
That's right.
My mother was a Methodist choirist. She was a choirist in Methodist church. My dad wasn't a Christian at that time, but my dad was in the army. He was in the Ghanaian army. He was a soldier, so he wasn't always around. He was traveling, different countries, doing this and doing that. But with Pig Farm, I don't remember too much of that. But we moved to Kokomlimli. And then that's where all the story began.
Wow.
My last memory of Kokomlimli was, I remember we moved to Panama JSS, which was had like a Saito government school right opposite our house. Right. And we used to walk from there all the way to our school. And my first experience of school was at Malata Primary School, right in the middle of the market. Wow. My dad took me there. And I didn't like it because it was right in the middle of the market, Did you
have siblings?
Oh yeah. I've got 2 elder sisters.
Wow.
And a younger brother who was born after me.
Wow.
Yeah. So my dad took me to Malata School, and I was there. And then it got to a point where some of the kids there thought I was like a rich boy, because my dad made sure that I was nicely dressed. So they tried to bully me, and then it turned into a fight. I fought them. Because, my dad raised me not to allow anybody to bully me. As a soldier man, he was very strict. He was very adamant. He always, instilled some of his strength in me. So when I went to school, the kids tried to sort of, take advantage, and it turned into a fight. So the teacher wasn't happy and called my dad. And as a Ghanaian boy, when your father comes to school because your teacher has complained, the first thing you get smacked.
That's right.
But in all fairness, my father and my mother, they also taught me to be very humble. They taught me to be helpful, respect everybody. If you cannot do it, fine. If you can do it, help everybody, respect everybody. Don't think you're better than anybody. Another thing as well is they taught me to do my best. Don't just give up. Don't just sit back and think to yourself, oh, I cannot do it. They taught me some morals, but it wasn't easy. It was not easy because my mom was a very strong lady, very, very strong lady. And there were incidents where, as I grew up, I started to think back of things that happened and made me realize that all along, my mom was someone that, God, she's a gift from God. Wow. It's a gift from God. I remember there was an incident where I was pronounced dead. Oh, wow. This was in Kokomlimle. The school that was opposite our house, that's where we went to church. It was an Assemblies of God church. Yeah. And we used to go there. And I remember there was a particular time when the church, I just felt dizzy. Just all of a sudden, just this dizziness, this, I couldn't breathe. And when I was young as well, I had problems with breathing. Okay. My mom used to take me to hospital all the time. Sometimes in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll stop breathing. Wow. She'll put me on her back, rush me to hospital, at that time in the morning. My mom, oh my God, she'll put me on her back, And where we lived, it was close to Nima Gutter.
Yes,
Kokomlemle, and then
That's right.
and then you have the gutter, you cross it, and then you go
cross
to
over.
the youngsters, and then Kanda.
Yeah.
You know,
I was in the youngsters.
he was in the youngsters. It's a small world.
So you guys know your way.
It's a small world. So the good thing is one of my dad's friends was a doctor who had his practice on that road, which led to Nima police station. So 10 minutes walk from our house. But in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, my mom would put me on her back, you know. And you know, at that time as well, it's quite cold, you know, and I couldn't breathe, and having all these things. My mom would put me on her back, and she would cross the gutter with me. Even in the daytime, it's difficult to cross that gutter because, you know, there are rocks that you have to step on. You know, and at that time of the night, there's no light. You know, Ghana, there's no light here, where, you know. And she managed to cross the gutter with me. She would take me to that doctor. You know.
How old was you then, roughly?
I think the as far as I can remember, I think at that time I was 6 years old.
All right.
Wow.
You know, the first experience I had, you know, the first one I had was when I was coming from the church.
Right.
I was dizzy in the church, and I decided to come out of the church because you come out of the church, come out to the school, and my house is just opposite. So I said I'll go home and go and see my mom. And then as soon as I stepped out of the school, I was about to cross the road to my house, and I just fell on the street.
Wow.
I just fell on the street, stopped breathing. I was gone, and a taxi driver was also pulling up. My mom could see me, so she came out, she grabbed me, put me in the taxi, gone. Went to Kolebu. And as far as I can remember, I woke up, and this is my mom in tears.
Wow.
You know, like actually hugging me, you know, crying. And she explained to me what happened. She said I thought you were gone, because even the doctor was shocked that, you know, yeah. And it was amazing because when we were coming back, and the taxi driver actually waited.
Wow.
You know, he actually waited. You know, and we're coming back. My mom said, you know what, let me put you in the front seat so that when we go to the area, everybody will see what God has done.
Wow.
You know.
That's right.
So she put me in the front seat and she sat in the back. And as we were coming, she was singing. You know, she was a chorister in the Methodist Church in Adabraka.
Okay.
You know, so she was singing, praising God.
Wow.
You know, praying to God. You know, and she was very encouraging. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. This thing will cease. This thing will cease. But me, at that time, I was young.
So you didn't know
I didn't understand what was going on, you know. But I could remember. I could remember everything when I was sat in the church, feeling dizzy. Came out to the church, walked out, and then fell. But then after that, I didn't remember anything. So we went back, and then the whole area. You know how Ghana is when
everyone surrounds you.
you know.
That's right.
The whole area, everybody came, oh, are you okay, are you okay? And then when we went home, my mom sat me down and she explained to me what happened. I was gone.
Did you see anything at that moment? Or you
nothing.
You know when some people go
Nothing.
through that trance, they say they saw something. Or
nothing at all.
No voice, nothing.
Nothing at all.
You know what? One thing that actually, you know, pricks my mind is the fact that, you know, back in the day, our parents used to have so much great faith.
Yeah,
sure.
There wasn't many prophets there.
Yes.
You could hardly find any in town.
Very right.
You know, and they depended solely on God. You see, and so back in the day, you know, the relationship with God was more of an
staunch.
intimate
It was raw.
one,
It was raw, yeah.
You know, and there weren't any, because I'm sure at that moment, your mother was praying to God.
Oh, yeah,
you know, at that time, there was nobody, there was no pastor, you know, at that point. And
so her aid and the doctor that she needed was
Yeah.
God himself.
I'm sure. So did your mom take you to church every Sunday? How was it like?
Well, when I was much younger, she used to take me to her church, Methodist Church in Adabraka. You know, she introduced me to all her friends, the pastor. That's where even the pastor sprinkled water on me. You know, I was part of the children's ministry. And then as I got a bit older, cause she was a businesswoman. She used to go, you know, sell salt with her brother. You know, so sometimes when she's away, me and my sisters would go to Assemblies of God, which was just opposite our house. We didn't want to go too far, you know. And my dad also, because my dad was in the army, he traveled a lot, working away a lot, you know. He worked with the civil aviation as well, so he was always you know, working. But he was the type of person, when he was at home, he let everybody know he was at home.
That's right.
You know, and then we'll all surround him, you know. But coming back to my mom again, even thinking now, it's amazing that, you know, when we're young,
Right.
and our mothers and our fathers panic and they do these things and they do that, we think, oh, I don't know, my papa.
Yeah.
But you know, looking at it now, I'm so grateful. I am so grateful, because this was not even a one-off. It happened a few times. You know, it happened a few times. And I remember there was another incident where I was walking with my dad. We were going to visit one of his friends in Kanda, and we sat in a taxi. And as we sat in the taxi, all I know was we woke up in 37 hospital.
Wow.
You know, I woke up in a hospital bed in 37 hospital, and my dad just hugged me. You know, and the doctor was one of his friends. You know, and I was like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It was so strange. And my dad was the type of person, you know, he wouldn't let you see that he was worried. He had to be.
So you had to be.
He had to be. You know, but growing up, being next to my dad, you know, I could see sometimes that he was scared. Okay, but he didn't show it. You know, even now he's 82 years old. Wow. Sometimes I go and visit him and we're talking and I'll say something and I can see the look on his face that okay, he's uncomfortable, but he doesn't show that because he doesn't want us to see that. You see, and I remember when we came home and he explained it to my mom. My mom was panicking because she's seen it before. You know, she had seen it before and she was panicking. But my dad was calm because, you know, with him, he understood, okay, at least my son is still alive.
Right.
You know, and they talked and, you know, she always used to tell me, you know what, be careful when you go outside. Because at that time, most of the kids in the area would go out playing football because opposite our house, next to the Saito school, there was a pitch. It was a sandy pitch. We used to play football and then we'll go in there and play football. Our clothes will be dirty. Yeah. We'll go home and our parents will smack us.
Yeah, that's
you know.
I think you get disciplined for playing.
Yeah, and sometimes the kids will come and ask me to come out and play,
right.
And I couldn't.
Oh, because
you know, because I knew that if I was out there with them and I was playing and something happened, they couldn't do anything. Right. But I couldn't explain to them because, you know, I was young. I didn't understand. You know, but sometimes I'd be sitting in my house and I could just look over the wall and I could see them playing and I couldn't. You know, and
how did that make you feel?
Well, any kid will feel bad, you know, but it helped me because it gave me the opportunity to study more.
Right. Okay.
Because my dad used to, you know, send me books, you know, some like, you know, storybooks and stuff like that. So I'll be sitting there, and sometimes my mom also, because she was a chorister, she'd be singing, you know, and I believe that's where I got my musical background from, you know.
Right.
So
how was it like growing up, you know, out of, you know, how was your, you know, coming out of that childhood, you know, into adulthood? How was it like?
It was tough. There were many challenges. If I can remember, let me give you one of these incidents that took place. You know, because my dad was away a lot. You know, not that he didn't love us or he didn't care for us. He was always there, but because of the nature of his job, he was away a lot. So my mom was the person to look up to, you know, the person to talk to whenever there was any situation. And if my mom didn't like it, she'll tell you she don't like it. If she has to smack you, she'll smack you. You know, she wasn't this type of person to, you know, dilly-dally. No, straight. You know, and I remember there was this incident where I think there was some sort of a military coup or something like that. You know, I don't remember too much of it, but where we lived, there was some sort of curfew, and you know, a group of soldiers came, and even at the bottom of our road, there was a tank that got stuck. Wow. You know, and you know, some of these Ghanaian soldiers are gunfires in the air, or whatever. And my mom just came, grabbed us, got into the house, locked the door, because things like that she didn't want us to see. But you know, as kids, we thought that was exciting. You see, but then we don't understand what's going on. But then later on in the morning, we're getting ready to go to school, Then we heard that one of the girls who lived at the top of the road got shot in the ankle. She was an Ewa girl.
Wow.
You know, and my mum said, "You see, this is why I ask you to come back in, because when you're young, you know, you're a young boy, you see soldiers, you know, you get excited, you think, oh yeah,
That's right.
but then my mum understood what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, and when we heard that girl got shot in the ankle, it sort of made everybody uncomfortable, because we realized that, okay, that could have been any of the kids.
Yes.
You know, it could have been any of the kids.
Quite fortunate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in Kokomlemle, where I lived, we're not rich. You see, it's funny that people will be looking at us now thinking, oh, because we're in the UK, then, but you know, we grew up in a very tough environment, because, like I said, my dad was away a lot, and we had to go to school by ourselves, and our school was in Nima. You know, like I said, I started in Malata school.
So you had to grow up fast.
I grew up fast, and I had two elder sisters, who was gonna defend my sisters.
That's right.
You know, and I was young, and my sisters, they're not gonna fight for me. You know, so it was one of those things where I had to grow up. I had to grow up fast.
So how was the transition, like moving from Ghana and then also coming into the UK?
Coming to UK was a whole different ball game.
Right.
It was a whole different ball game. When we came to UK, you know, when you're in Ghana, you think, oh, okay, when you come to UK, everything's going to be hunky-dory, you know. But then when we came to UK...
I mean, before you even get into UK,
Yeah.
how did it come to the point where you had to come here?
No, right.
You know, where,
Yeah.
if I may even ask, how was your relationship with God then? You know, most importantly.
I was young. I didn't know God. All I know was, okay, Sunday, go to church, come home. I didn't know who God was. I mean, my knowledge of God was, okay, he's somebody who created us. He's so big, he's so bright, and you know, I didn't know God. But we were raised with the custom of church. That when you saw a pastor or you saw a man of God, a woman of God, you give them respect. You know, you saw someone who was older than you give the person respect. You know, so in my neighborhood where I lived in Kokomlemle, Odao Close, you know, at the bottom of Odao Close was Golden, and then at the top was Big Tree, because we had a football team. We had a football team called Big Tree, and then at the bottom was Golden, you know. And everybody in the neighborhood who knew me was, okay, yeah, respectful boy, you know. I wasn't going out looking for trouble. I didn't, you know, going out misbehave. But there were times where, okay, you get into fights with these little boys here and there. It happened, you know. But we were raised in a very good way. But you know, there were times where we leave our neighborhood. Some of the boys will leave our neighborhood and we'll go as far as Ridge, go as far as Ridge Hospital, and then somebody will chase us and we'll come back home screaming, you know. Then, okay, why did you go over there? Because from where we lived to Ridge, it was far. And in those days, you know, that was when Kofi Chinto had his head cut off.
No, right. So
You know, so as young boys, for you to come home and tell your mom and your dad that, okay, you went as far as Ridge, and if something could happen, you know, yeah, anything could happen. So it wasn't too much of okay, you know, we had everything we wanted, everything we didn't have that, but life was okay. You know.
At what age did you come to this country?
I was young. I was about 12 years old.
12 years. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So coming to this country.
Yeah.
How did you meet God? I mean,
It took a long time before I met God, because when we came to this country, don't forget there were anybody who comes to UK, you know, unless maybe you have a course here to do, or maybe you have a business here to do, or you have family here. When you come to UK, you don't know anybody. It's a different ball game.
That's right.
You know, when we came to UK, my dad was already here.
Okay.
And me, my two sisters, my mom, and my little brother then, who was born, we came here. And when we came here, we realized that it wasn't A to B like people said it was. You know, it was actually a whole different scene. I even used to say to myself that I wish I would have stayed in Ghana. You know, because when we came here, all 6 of us had to stay in one room for a long time. You know, bed and breakfast here, bed and breakfast there. this place, that place. We're moving from one place to another, and it took a long time before I even started school. We came here in April, but I went to school in November.
Wow.
Because of all that palaver that was going on, and it wasn't easy, you know. And it was amazing because my mum, again, was very strong.
Right.
She encouraged my dad, pushed my dad, and we made sure that, you know, at the end of the day, we remained good kids.
That's
you know. So after all that, when I started school, then another challenge started.
Wow.
You know.
Tell us about it.
How was it like?
My first week in school, I got beaten up by about 10 boys because I went to school. There was this guy who wanted to use my ruler, you know, and I said I won't give him my ruler, and he took it by force. And I remember my dad was always the type of person to always tell me, you know what, don't let anybody, you know, make a fool out of you.
Yeah.
You know, don't let anybody bully you. You know, so I had that mentality in my mind. So when he took the ruler and he wouldn't give it back, it turned into a fight. You know, so the teacher separated us and took me to his office, took the other guy to another teacher's office, and at the end of school, I was going home. Before I knew it, about 10 boys, you know, beat me up.
At 12 years.
Yeah, I was about 12 years old. And this was my first week in school.
Wow.
My first week in school, you know, beat me up, and I had to go to hospital.
Wow.
You know, had a gash at the back of my head. You know, had a concussion. You see my head here. So they ended up in trouble, and then my mum was like, "Hang on, you know, your first week in school."
You're already in trouble.
You know, she was panicking because it's like we just came to England, and then all that stuff that we went through, and now I'm in school, and the first thing she hears is, "Okay, your son is in trouble. He's gone into a fight." You know, and ended up in hospital. I was there for a few days, and the deputy head teacher came to our house to visit me. You know, spoke to me, and I explained to him what happened. You know, so the guy who was involved, they actually expelled him from school for for I think a week or so. But then that gave me a reputation in school because people assumed I was that kind of boy to always get into fights. But I didn't go looking for a fight. Somebody came and took something that belonged to me. I went to get it, and it turned into a fight. And I thought that was it. But then later on, these guys came and beat me up. You know,
That's how it's like in these schools
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Because even me, you know, my transition coming from Ghana to the UK and going through schools in the primary school, you know, I went through some of that bullying attitude from some of the young people where, you know, because you could understand it's different cultures and it's different things that these kids are used to. And they'll trap you, they will do things here where you will not know, but because you're young and you're a bit naive, that they will try and, you know, test you to see where you are. Even it sounds in so much like what's happening now, where a lot of the kids will test you and try to see whether you can stand some of the trials, and then some of it end up being like bullying and picking on you, and so you have to stand up for yourself, and more of the time as well. That's why it becomes a thing where when teachers start to pick up on these kids, they say, "Yo, he's a bad child," and then but at the same time, this kid is the one that's just trying to, you know, defend himself, and feel a sense of belonging, and even our parents as well. That's why sometimes it's good for parents to also take time, you know, because my parents thought I was being bad, but at the same time, they didn't know the issues that was going on in school, just like what you was experiencing, because you just come from a different place.
So how was it coming, you know, transitioning and, you know, moving along the line?
It was difficult because in my class, I was the only black kid in my class for about a year. You know, and I've come straight from Ghana. You know, my accent was a typical. I had my mind was different. So I've just come into a new country, into a new school. You know, with different faces, different people, and I didn't know how to relate. And my first week, like I said, in my first week I got into a fight, so that kind of scared me because I went home and I was asking my dad, you know, is that what these people are like? You know, and he sat me down. He said, "Look, this is not Ghana. You see, over here the kids are rude." He said the kids in this country, they don't respect their parents. They're rude, so they're not going to respect you. So you're gonna have to be tough and be wise as well. Don't always get into fights. Sometimes you're just gonna have to. If someone picks up your ruler, tell the teacher, or just leave it and come home. I'll get you another ruler.
Right.
You know, that's what he used to say to me. And my mum was so panicky because okay, we've come from Ghana. This is England.
Right.
I don't want you to get into any trouble or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I'm not gonna sit there for someone to come and take something that you bought for me, because when I come home without that thing, you're gonna ask me, where is it?
Yeah.
That's right.
You see, so it was confusing, and at the same time, I realized that here there was Asian kids,
Right.
there was African kids, there were West Indian kids, there were white kids, but in Ghana, there's all Ghanaian kids.
Yeah.
So I was confused. Who can I be friends with?
Right.
Who am I gonna trust? Who's gonna like me? Who am I gonna like? And it was tough.
Right.
It took a good 6 months,
For you to adjust.
before I can adjust, And I remember one of my teachers actually called my mum and said to my mum, she said, your son, he's very reserved. He keeps himself to himself. He doesn't want to get involved. Encourage him to get more involved. But then the teacher didn't understand that. Look, I've just come fresh from Ghana.
Right.
I'm not gonna come in as if I know everybody, because I was raised differently.
That's right.
And I've come in, I've seen that some of the kids even rude to the teachers.
That's true.
Sometimes the kids will be misbehaving, jumping on tables. The teacher will say something, and they'll swear at the teacher, even at that age. So I used to think, hang on, I've not seen this before. Because where I'm from, you wouldn't dare swear at a teacher.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah.
But then in moving on from that, how did you, progress in terms of from secondary school all the way to college and growing up, like, in that sense? How was that like?
It was hard because my dad and my mom taught me to be an intelligent kid. I was always studying, I was always reading. So even in school, I did very well. I did very well, even in terms of drawing maps, English. And some of the kids looked at me thinking, hang on, you weren't even born here, so how could you be even better than us in school?
Right.
So that also started even more bullying. People, other kids try to, gang up on me and stuff like that. But the good thing is, after the 6 months, the year, I also had friends who were close to me that I used to help with the grammar, a bit of their homework and stuff like that. So whenever someone came to bully me, I had people to sort of, and it became a reputation in the school.
Okay.
People thought I was this boy that I wasn't. You see what I mean? And it got to a point where I was getting into more fights. Sometimes it's not even me. It's like, okay, we're playing football, and someone who didn't like a friend of mine will come start a fight with my friend, and then we'll all get in trouble and get in fight, and then someone will end up in hospital, and my parents will get involved, and I'll get expelled from school or something like that, But it also taught me a lot. Also taught me a lot because it made me realize that growing up in this country, there were certain ways that you had to defend yourself. You couldn't. I couldn't be the typical Ghanaian boy because they didn't like that. You see, I had to learn how to stand up for myself because sometimes you come to school, and I had an afro as well. Sometimes I come to school, and people they'll get bits of paper, they'll put it in their mouth, wet it, and then they'll throw it into my afro. So I'll go home having different colored papers in my, things like that. Yeah.
But at this time, was you, was your parents still going to church, and what was your role in the background in terms of your church or your faith?
Yeah, we went to church once in a while because when we came here, obviously my mom had to start working, my dad was working, and the church thing sort of faded out.
Right.
It faded out to the point where even when I finished school, started college, I didn't go to church.
Right.
I had friends in college who used to say to me, "Oh, you know what? Come to church," and I'd be like, "Nah." And deep down, I used to think to myself, "Hang on. You used to go to church when you were young.
That's right.
What's happened?" It's because I got to this point where I wanted to follow a certain crowd because I thought, okay, that was the way to be.
To fit in.
To fit in. Because I didn't feel like I fitted in.
Partying,
having
fun, all that.
Not so much partying because I was still living with my parents. My parents didn't like the partying stuff, but in college, I had friends that I used to talk to. Okay, there's a rave over here, there's a rave over there, and once in a while I'll go to the rave, and gradually, I wanted to become like them, because I could see, okay, this one's wearing this gold chain, or this one's wearing these Nike trainers, or how did he get that Nike trainers? Okay. He's living with his parents, but how's he buying these Nike trainers? And then eventually you get to find out that, okay, he's doing this to get the Nike trainers, or he's doing that to get, you know, and then
maybe selling drugs, or he's stealing, or he's doing
you know, and eventually you begin to think to yourself, okay, maybe I need to do that because I want to wear this, I want to wear that.
Right.
Peer pressure. Peer pressure, you know. But then I'll come home and my parents wouldn't even have a clue that, okay, their son has gone out with a certain crowd and has done this and has done that. Because it will not be right for me to come and let my dad or my mum know, you know, what I was doing outside in the street with my friends.
Right.
You see what I mean? Yeah. But as time went on, there was also problems at home. Right. You know, there was also problems at home because you know, coming from Ghana to England, you know what it's like. You know, different transitions, the system. You know, it can affect families. Right. You know, there's things that go on. You know,
was it between your mom and your dad, or
mom and dad, and then also family back home? There was a lot of issues to the point where I had to leave home early. I left home at the age of 17, 18. Okay. I left home. I couldn't take it because, like I said to you before, to come from Ghana to here, it was already a challenge for me to fit in. Okay. You know, all the stuff I had to go through, and then also the problems at home.
So
you know,
what kind of problems you sort of encountering at home that really made you leave home?
Like problems between my mom and dad. Like, okay, you know, maybe certain things that my dad wanted to do, my mom didn't agree, or maybe certain things that my mom wanted to do, my dad didn't agree, and then it would turn into a fight, and you know, and
you're caught in the middle of it.
And you're caught in the middle of it, you know, and because you're young, you can't really say anything, because if you say something, you know, it's going to be turned against you, you know. And there were so many things that went on, so many things, like deep things, very serious things that went on that began to affect me. You know, sometimes I'll leave home, I'll say I'm going to college, but I don't go to college. I'll go to my friend's house, and then we'll go walking about in town, getting girls' numbers, you know, and then I'll come home as if I went to college. And then, you know, my mum will have that look on her face like as if she knew that I didn't go college, but, you know, she won't say anything. And it got to the point where for a good 2 months, I remember there was a period for a good 2 months I didn't go college. Or sometimes I'll go college, I won't even go to class. I'll go to the gym and play table tennis. Wow. Because there were issues at home that was affecting me, affecting my sisters, affecting my brother, affecting everybody. And there was nothing that could be done because nobody was going to church. You see, I wasn't prayerful. I didn't know how to pray. I didn't even know how to, you know, call on the name of God. And it got to the point where I had to leave home because it was getting too much. And I left home.
And I'm sure your mom at that time had lost her, you know.
I think everybody had enough.
Wow.
Everybody had enough. At that time, my older sister as well, she had left. She had gone and got married. She was.
I mean, even with regards to your mom's faith, I think she had, you know, going.
She was going to church once in a while. I mean, I don't think her faith went down, but it's just that, you know, her lifestyle, her you know, being busy, going to work and stuff like that. She wasn't, you know, as staunch as she was when we were in Ghana, you know. But I don't think she ever lost her faith. But with me as a person, you know, I was totally out. I wasn't into God. I wasn't prayerful. None of that. So I left home, and when I left home, hanging out with friends, you know, going clubbing, doing this and doing that, and then eventually I said to my dad and my mom, I said, look, you know what, I'm gonna go to university. You know, I wanna go and study. And they were hoping that I would study in London, but then I wanted to go further, you know, so I applied. And I got a place at De Montfort University in Leicester. Okay. And I saw that as an opportunity for me to just leave, to go and start my own life in a different city, away from the family. I didn't want anybody to know what I was up to. So eventually, when I got accepted at the university, I told my parents that I was moving, and they weren't happy because they were like, "Hang on, you're going to leave just like that? You know, you're not even going to discuss it with us. You know, we want you to stay in London." But it just got to the point where I had to go. I had to leave because the pressures at home was too much, you know. And it's amazing because even at that time, there was a friend of mine who committed suicide.
Wow.
At that age, committed suicide because he was having pressures at home.
Right.
You know, and all the stuff that was going on, that thought also popped into my mind. You know, but I wasn't the type of person to do that. But you know, these things kept coming to my mind. I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. So I had to leave home. I left home and moved to another city. Went there by myself, didn't know anybody, you know, had to start from afresh.
Yeah, so you start going through all these challenges and all these paranoia things happening.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, there seems to be some type of issue there.
You know, And when I went to uni, that was another another journey.
Unis where all those playboy and all the messing around, everything starts, isn't it?
Another journey, yeah. I couldn't get a loan to study, so I had to get a part-time job.
Okay.
You know, and I remember my first experience was a Tesco frozen food warehouse. You know, got the job through an agency, and I went there freezing, didn't have any gloves, didn't have any boots, and one of the staff gave me his boots, which was like 10 times bigger than my feet, you know, and had to work 12 hour shift, night shift.
No gloves, nothing.
No gloves. Came home, had a quick shower, and had to go to lectures.
It must have been well freezing.
You know, you know, had to go to lectures. So my tutor, his first experience of seeing me in lectures, I was sleeping. He was like, what's wrong with you? You know, so that was my experience in Leicester. I had to work and study at the same time because, you know, I wasn't like the other kids where they came home with student loans. Some of the kids, you know, their parents bought them a car, bought them a computer, paid their rent for them. You know, my mom helped me out. She was very helpful. My don't get me wrong, my mom was very helpful, very supportive.
So you're still keeping in touch with home.
Still keeping in touch. You know, sometimes she'll send me money. She'll even get someone to, you know, deliver food to me and stuff like that. My mom was very helpful, but it was tough because I had to use half my time to go to work. You know, I was supposed to study. I was supposed to enjoy my life. I had to use half the time to work, and sometimes I come to lectures, you know, half asleep.
Wow.
But I'm grateful because I did well. You know, like I'm the type of person, I'm always studying, I'm always reading, I'm always, you know, trying to challenge myself. So even though there were kids in university who was always in class, they were always, you know, on top of everything, I did better than them. You
even
know,
through all the
even
through
all that,
you know, being frozen in the freezer, doing all the frozen,
you know,
getting caught up with no gloves. Wow. I think there's, you know, when you have so much passion that you want to do something. It doesn't matter even if they put you in minus how much degrees, you still do it because you know at the end the aim of what you want to achieve. And the fact that you haven't got the luxury. So it really pushes you and eagers you.
At that point, you know, come to think of it. Did that pressure at home still come to catch up with you, or it was something that had just cut off because you left home? Or you were just having a
from time to time, because I remember in my first few months of being at uni, that was when my mum and dad split up. I remember my mum called me, and you know, no, it's actually my sister who called me. She said, "Oh, you know what, you know, Dad has left home," and I went silent. Because I knew it was going to happen.
Did you have communication with your dad then?
Yeah, I had a communication with my dad, but then, you know,
he never told you.
Well, I didn't get a chance to, because when I came back home for holidays, my dad was not home.
Okay.
You know, and it was strange because for the first time, my dad was not living at the house. It was my little brother, my mum, and my sister, and I was very distant, you know, because I left the house. You know, I've gone to live in a different city, different experience. I've come back to the place where I left.
Must have been a shock.
And I felt like I wasn't part of it.
Something was missing.
Yeah, I felt like a stranger. So everything. My little brother at that time was happy to see me because he has seen, you know, his big brother come home.
That's right.
You know, because his dad is not there. So he saw me as his dad. You know, even I used to buy him football, you know, things like that. But then I felt very strange. I felt like I was not part of it because I thought, what am I going to do? My dad is not there.
Right.
You know, and I wanted to help my family. I wanted to help my dad. So I used to think, okay, shall I quit university and come and work and help my mum, look after my family, or shall I go back? You know, so it took me a while to go back, and eventually when I went back, I thought, you know what, nah, I'm not going back home because this is my opportunity.
That's right.
You know, and it got to a point where I lost contact with my dad for 9 years.
Wow.
9 solid years. And I lost contact with my mum for 5 years.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah. Because it got to a point where when I came back from uni, I took a look from a different picture, because when I was growing up, you know, I was in the picture. I didn't see, okay, who was in the wrong or who was in the right. But then when I left and I came back, and I got to realize actually where these problems were coming from.
Right.
And I thought to myself, you know what, I can't deal with this. I can't help my mom. I can't help my dad.
Yeah.
I can't help my brother. I can't help my sisters.
I need to live my
Because
life.
my mind was so full of rage and confusion and bitterness that, you know, I thought, you know what, let me go back to where I've been, right? Get myself sorted out
Yeah.
before I can come back and help
You
my
have to go through
family.
the healing process and the rehabilitation processes. So mentally
Yeah.
stabilize yourself. And this time you're still working to try and, you know, finance for your uni and all of that.
It wasn't.
So
It
that's
wasn't
why you
easy.
cut everyone off.
It was tough.
How did your mom take it? Yeah, especially.
Well, she wasn't happy. She wasn't happy because,
Did she try to reach out to you?
well, yeah, she did her best. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes one of my friends will call me and says, oh, you know, oh, I saw your mom and she was asking about you, and I told her that you're okay.
Did she understand you? Did she
No,
understand
no, she did. It was difficult for my mom to understand because, you know, we had come from Ghana to join my dad, and the system was different. There was a whole new system for my mom. She had to learn how to look after us. She had to work like odd hours to look after us. My dad had to work odd hours to look after us. And then all of a sudden, everything's blown up. Everything that they worked hard for had blown up, and then everyone's leaving, you know. And then here's me leaving to even a different city, where she can't see me, she can't talk to me, she don't know whether I'm going through something or not. So it broke her. It really shook her down. But at the same time, my mom was a very strong person, so, you know, she was able to deal with it. But me, on the other hand, I had a bit of freedom. Not freedom to mess about, but freedom to look into myself, to find out who I really was. Because growing up, you know, I'm having all these issues at home, you know, and then it's like, even driving lesson. Yeah? My first driving lesson, my driver, my instructor was like, you're very good. You know, but then I couldn't continue because I couldn't focus.
Right, because of what was going on.
You know what I mean? Right. And I'll leave it. I'll see my friends driving, having their cars, whatever. You know, I'll go back to do driving lesson, and then after some time, and I'll leave it because my mind was so occupied with trying to get a job to come back to help my mum. Yeah.
So what was that like? You know, the road turning point. You know, in terms of your godly encounter.
At what point did you realize? Or did God say it's time?
I need to
get again. At what time did you realize that you needed God? That's right.
I think I needed God all the time. I was always in the back of my mind. I was always calling out to God, but I just didn't know how to do it. You know, like I said, I had friends who was always inviting me to church, come to church, but I wouldn't because, you know, I got stuck into a system where, you know, either make money to make your life better, or you go back home. You know, like I said, for 9 years, I didn't speak to my dad because I was angry with all the stuff that I saw.
Right.
And for 5 years as well, I cut off my mum because I was angry because finally I was out of the bubble and I could actually see that, no, you know, I can't live in an environment like this. You see what I mean? So what happened was, I managed to finish uni. Okay. I finished uni, and at the time when I finished uni, I couldn't actually get a job in the course that I studied in. I did design. It was a combination of different topics in design. Okay. But at the time, that was when everything was being moved from England to China and, you know, things like that. So I couldn't actually get a job in design. So I did some jobs, and then I ended up becoming a bouncer. You know, I became a bouncer in nightclubs, you know, bars, cafes, pubs, and that's when another whole era started, you know.
Give us a brief description of that experience. How was that like?
It was good. It was good and it was bad at the same time, because we were traveling to different cities, working different pubs, meeting different people. I had a lot of doorman friends, you know. But then we got into drugs, you know, because some of the doormen, a lot of the doormen were selling drugs to make extra money, you know, to make extra money. And it's not something that I was into, you know. I was not into, because I mean, even in London, I had friends who were into selling drugs, and I know what happened to them. You know, some of them got killed and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't into that. But then, you know, as time goes on, when you're hanging out with these people, it becomes normal.
That's right.
You know, different girlfriends every weekend. You know, as a doorman, you stood on the door, you know, wearing my ear studs, plaited my hair. We used to go to gym and get pumped up. You know, ladies will see you on the door and they'll come to you.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and it was normal. It became so normal that, you know, one girlfriend was not enough. You see what I mean? And it was normal, like doormen going out together, you know, we'll get into a fight and then come back home and, oh yeah, you know, this and that. And we realized that it got to a point where I was seeing things that I'd never seen before. You know, things were getting deep. I remember one of the guys, he was actually arrested for supplying Class A drugs, you know, and it was that terrible that police began to look out for us as well. And as you asked me the turning point, when it was getting into the turning point, I had a problem with the police, because there was a guy where we lived. He was committing crimes. He abused people, he killed people. He, you know, so many things. And he was arrested before by the police, but then they didn't do anything to him because he was able to convince them, and they let him go. So they arrested about 7 people. And one morning I was at home, you know, bang, big bang on my door. I see about 5 policemen in my bedroom, you know.
Wow.
Grabbed me, you know, took me away. They locked me up, and then took me out, took me to the interview room, saw a lawyer in front of me, and then the policewoman interviewing me. She goes, "Oh, do you know why you're here?" I said, "Well, when the policeman came, you know, he said, okay, we're arresting you for, you know, so and so." And I knew I wasn't the person.
Right.
I already knew that, you know, they were arresting people, you know, so it didn't bother me. But at that time, I remember I said to one of my colleagues, I said, "You know what? I think we should stop this, you know. I think I want, yeah." And I began to have this thought in my mind that, you know what, I want to give my life to Christ.
Wow.
You know, and when I began to tell my friend, I kept saying it for about 2 months. You know, obviously the devil heard me saying it, so he's thinking, okay, I know what to do with this guy.
Bring me back.
You know, and it was actually a gentleman called Frederick Muijimi. He was a Nigerian man, a Nigerian businessman. Because we had a cafe bar that we used to run, and he used to come there, eat dumplings and, you know, his rice and peas and wache and stuff like that. And he used to talk to me, said, "You know what? You're not one of these guys, you know." I said, "Look, whenever I come here, I see here with all these guys are smoking this, smoking that, selling this, selling that. I see you differently." But I didn't pay much attention to him. And to cut the story short, it took him 2 years. It took him 2 years to persuade me to follow him to church.
Wow.
2 years. He was that patient. And finally, I walked with him, you know, because he whenever he used to come, we used to have conversations. He said, "Look, you're a very intelligent young man," and he used to learn from me. Sometimes he would come with a notebook, and we'll talk, and he would write notes, you know, and I didn't realize he was actually using the notes for his own business.
Oh wow.
You know, yeah. So finally, one day I said, "Look, you know what? I'll walk with you." So I walked with him in town, you know, talking, you know, conversation, and then he took me to a particular church, introduced me to the bishop in the church. He said, "Oh, this is my son, I want to introduce you to him." And the bishop was also a Ghanaian man, so I was able to relate, you know, and we spoke. But then even after that, it took me another 6 months for me to go back to that church.
Yeah. The challenges of the journey, you know, of transition.
Yeah, you know.
Go through all those.
It took, yeah. But the amazing thing is, after the 2 years when I managed to follow Frederick to the church, then that 6 months I didn't see him.
Where was he?
I don't know. I didn't see him for 6 months. So sometimes I'll call him, no answer. You know, I'll try and look for his office. I couldn't find him. So I think it was after then that I said, no, I can't find this man. What am I going to do? So I went back to the church and I spoke to the bishop and I said, look, you know, I think it would be nice if I can come. And he's just like, yeah, no problem. Come and see us anytime. You know, you come and join us. And, you know, and that particular week was when the enemy really tested me. You know, I had a problem with an ex-girlfriend of mine. Mm-hmm. You know, as a doorman, you know, you get into so many things that, right. You know, your reputation, people get to know you. Yeah. You know, so what happened was there was a bit of a misunderstanding with this ex-girlfriend of mine, and it got to a point where I was working on one of the pubs called O'Neill's, and O'Neill's was an Irish pub. You know, I was working with these two other gentlemen, and before I know it, these guys on bikes, they've come with masks. You know, wow. And I recognized them because they're the guys I used to go to gym with. You know, and the girl's brother comes up to me and says, "Oh, you know what? What's going on? You got a problem with my sister?" And I explained to him what the problem was. You know, because we were into stuff that, you know,
that was not right.
That was not right.
Lawful. Basically.
It wasn't lawful, and these things happen. You know, and we're going to misunderstanding, and it was actually someone that she knew had gone to call these people to come after me, and I don't even know how they found out where I was working. You know, and they came, and I knew that was it. If they got me, that would have been it. That would have been it, because I know those guys. I know what they you know what they're involved in. So they came, and luckily her brother came and spoke to me, and he managed to squash them. Wow. And even when they came, they realized, because they were told to come after someone, but when they came, they realized that, okay, look, this is the guy we go to gym with. You know, we know him. He's not a friend, but we know him. We go to gym with him. He's okay. So what's the problem? So they said, you know what, you deal with whoever you need to deal with. So, right. Call the girl, speak to her, deal with the situation, and then we'll let it go. Wow. And at that point, because the colleague I was working with was like, you know what, listen, we ain't gonna do anything if anything happens, because we don't know these people.
Oh, so you was basically on your own, really?
Yeah. He said, look, we don't know these people. You're here working, and if you bring trouble to us, that's right. You know. But then the amazing thing is, I think that day was a rugby day, so a lot of doormen also came to watch the rugby game. So, like, so many doormen were pulling up in their cars, coming to watch the game. So within 5 minutes, I was surrounded by doormen, you know. And when the guys saw the other doormen, they were like, no, we can't get involved in it, because they actually thought the doormen actually came because of me. You see what I mean? But later on, I realized that was God's way of protecting me. That's right. Because I was beginning to contemplate of you know, giving my life to Christ. So, you know, obviously the devil heard me saying all these things, so he wanted to take me out. You know, but God used that as an opportunity to, you know, to cover me, to shield me. And that particular night, when we finished work, I went home and I got on my knees. Wow. And I didn't even sleep. I got on my knees and I was in tears for God knows how long. You know, and in fact, the next day was a Saturday. You know, I went to the gym, and the guy saw me in the gym. They're like, listen, we didn't realize it was you. Sorry, listen, we didn't think it was. We thought it was someone else. Yeah, whatever situation it is, you deal with it, right? And we'll leave it.
They won't harm you.
You know.
Yeah, so they won't harm you no more. That's it.
That's it. The next day, I went to church.
Wow, that's it.
You know, and I had my hair. I plaited my hair. I had my hair plaited with my ear studs. I didn't care. I went to church, and when I went to church, and the bishop saw me, welcomed me, and that was the beginning of my journey. It wasn't that simple, you know, but the enemy came back even harder.
Wow. So what was some of the prayer life like, and the encounters that you had, you know, throughout that time? You know, what was your
briefly, because we've got a few minutes.
We've got a few minutes to go. Okay.
We've got about 10 minutes. We've got to talk about your book.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess we have to do this another time. You know,
No problem. It it was very strange because when I became Christian, I began to have dreams that I never had before. You know, I remember there was a point where I lived in Leicester was close to a Tesco, like maybe 5 minutes from a Tesco. And there was a particular time that I couldn't sleep. I said, "Oh, let me just go to the Tesco and get some, you know, fruits and stuff and come back home." So I came out of Tesco, and it was getting dark. So as I was walking through the car park, I looked up and I thought, "Hang on, what's going on? Am I going mad? Am I this angel?" And stood there physically.
Wow.
You know, huge, like a lamppost, tall, like a lamppost, huge.
How would you describe how tall?
Maybe 20 foot.
Wow.
You know, it was stood. You know, and I was like, "Hang on, am I seeing this real? Am I going mad? What's going on?" I was scared for a little bit, but at the same time, I felt at peace.
Yeah.
How do you know, like, your description?
He was white, like light. You know, it wasn't like
Bright light.
You know, yeah, bright light. He looked like a human being, but at the same time, he didn't look like a human being. Like a little bit of a white beard, and his hair was white. When I say white, I mean bright white, like sparkling. Had it tied around his back, long, and had a sword on his back.
Wow.
You know, and he was dressed like one of these samurais. You know,
like an army,
like a warrior.
Warrior type.
But everything was white.
Wow.
When I say white, I mean bright,
White.
pure white. His skin was white, like powder. You know, like white. And he looked fierce, like the type of person you wouldn't even want to mess with.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I was thinking, man, am I seeing this, or, you know? So I kept walking, and I got closer, and I can feel this aroma, a scent I never smelled before. Nice smell.
Wow.
And I can feel this heat, warmth, and I quickly walked past. I got more scared as I got closer, you know. So I was thinking, man. But then I knew that no, this is a divine encounter. I felt at peace, and I managed to walk home. And as I got a bit further, I turned around, and I could still see him. He was there. He didn't say a word to me. I got home, and I put my groceries down, and I sat down on my sofa, and I was like, "What's going on?
What did you just see?
Yeah, what's going on? Like, what's happening?"
You thought your mind's playing tricks on you?
Yeah, I thought. So is this what being a Christian means?
Right.
Like, you know, all these things going on. And I just fell asleep. I fell asleep right then, and I fell into a deep sleep. As I fell into a deep sleep, I saw myself in a robe, in a blue robe, in front of a choir, and there was 24 members. I remember them exactly.
Wow.
Like on an icicle, you know, singing songs, praising God. And the song that they sang, I remember it vividly. I remember even up till now. I remember it exactly how it was.
What were some of the words? Can you remember?
I'll have to send the lyrics to you. Okay. I've written the song down. I'll have to send the lyrics to you. Yeah. You read it. But then it's like a movie scene. As they got closer to their faces, the faces were white. I couldn't see their faces. They were like bright white, but we're in a blue robe. And then there was a drumming in the background behind the choir. And I looked, and I saw this person still in the robe, playing drums, but I couldn't see the drums properly because the drums, it was almost invisible. So as I looked closer, it was this same angel that I saw physically in a dream, sat playing drums, but then as the thing got closer, I saw my face. I thought, well, that's very strange. So I woke up from the dream and I thought, what kind of dream is this? You know, and the next day, because I used to go and clean my church, where I gave my life, I used to go there. Sometimes I'll go there by myself. I'll clean the whole church, you know. So I went there, and the bishop was there. And I said to the bishop, I said, you know, this is the dream I had. I can't explain it. You know, I don't understand. And he began to talk to me, you know, explain things to me that, you know, when you become a Christian, God begins to reveal things to you and stuff like that. So he said,
signs and wonders will follow you.
Yeah. So he said, whenever you dream this dream, just write them down, and then, you know. I remember the day after that, I went to the church by myself, and I was cleaning there, and even got to it was like midnight, and I sat behind the drums, you know, picked up the sticks, and I began to play just a little bit, you know, and I thought, this is very strange, because I never played drums before, but I was able to, you know, put two and two together, you know, and I remember we went to church, and I sat behind the drums and I was playing, and people said, "Oh, have you played drums before?" I said, "No, I never played drums before, but you know, I'm learning." Then the dream came back to me that when I saw the angel in the dream playing the drums, then maybe God wanted me to get into music.
That's right.
So the bishop said maybe God wants you to get into music, because when I sat behind the drums, I was very passionate. And to cut the story short, I managed to learn drums. I took time. Sometimes I'll go there by myself for hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. I'll learn. I'll play, listen to gospel songs, and then eventually I became the main drummer for the church for about 5-6 years.
Wow.
You know, and that's how I became a drummer. You know, I learned, and
you also write,
you know, I wrote songs, writing songs, and through writing the songs, I developed the ability to write books.
Wow.
And that's the.
So that's how you're going to.
That's how I go into writing books.
So viewers, if you're watching us, as I introduced, Brother Isaac, he is an author, and this is one. Did you bring your other book?
This is current.
Yeah, there's the other book over there.
All right. This is called The Test and the Victory.
The Victory. Yeah.
So basically, this is another part of Brother Isaac's life and testimony. I believe what you heard is just a tip of the iceberg. If you want to hear more of his testimony, this is a book that you should read. I believe that it will encourage and inspire. Brother Isaac, where can we find one of your books?
This book, you can get it on the website. It's jesusjoypublishing.co.uk. jesusjoypublishing.co.uk. Or anybody watching, they can inbox me. You can go to Facebook, Isaac Benjamin-Nyarko, click on it, inbox me. I can give you more details. And hopefully next time when we come back, we can also, because we're still spreading it out to, you know, other publishers and, you know, maybe Amazon and things like that. So we're still in the process of it. But if anybody can inbox me, I can give them the details of where to find it. Yeah.
What are your two other books? What's the name called?
My first ever book that I published was The Ark, the Flood, and the Rainbow. This was in 2011. And then my second one was I
think this one.
That's my second one. The Art of Servanthood, Discipleship.
Wow.
Discipleship.
It's also on the same.
They said must read all these
books.
I encourage you. You must get a copy, read, and it'll tell you a lot more about his walk with God.
Definitely.
And also, what other stuff are you also doing? You know, in the church community, charity and stuff.
Well, I'm also part of a food outreach program at our church, and God bless Pastor David O2.
Okay.
I want to bless him. Sister Jacqueline. I want to bless CCBC, Calvary Charismatic Baptist Church.
That name rang a bell.
Courtesy of Bishop Francis Sarpong.
Wow, okay.
He's a great man. Fridays I'm part of the homeless program.
Is that the church that you grew up in? Was that the church that you?
No. The church I grew up in was actually a church in Leicester. Okay. This was when I came back to London.
Okay, all right.
And that's another story. We'll go into that another day. I came back to London, and then I joined CCBC because my dad is actually a member of the church. So he took me to the church, and it was also an opportunity for me to rekindle my relationship with my dad.
That's brilliant.
You know, after some many years.
I think we'll have you back to take us on that journey.
We
definitely need to hear
he's got a lot more to share.
The rest of the testimony. Is there a special project that you are engaged in right now?
Like the food outreach program. We teach the homeless. We cook for them. You know, we minister to them. And to be honest with you, it's also something that has helped me as a Christian to become a better person. You know, because I've lost my home before. You know, I remember I mentioned to you before. You know, I had a 2-bedroom house back in Leicester that I lost. That's another story. So whenever I see someone who's destitute or who's going through that situation, I always put myself in their shoes and I help them. So when we got involved in this homeless program at our church, happens every Friday, 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Okay. You know, it's something I'm passionate about, and you know, I've been involved in it for the past 3 to 4 years, and I love it. You know, so if you know anyone who wants to come and join us, they can always inbox me. I can always introduce them and then get them on board. Yeah, it's a great cause. Yeah, and we're doing very well. Yeah, and you know,
I've had the privilege of doing that. You know, some years ago when I remember I was saying, you know, when I went on you know, a program in terms of my I had a little bit of conviction, so I had
Yeah.
to go and help out the charity.
Yeah.
And when I went and done it, it touches your heart when
Yeah.
you see that there's a place for homeless people and
Mhm.
they come
Mhm.
and they share amazing stories with you.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you'll be so amazed that it doesn't matter how much someone is going through, the homelessness or
Yeah.
or being abandoned in life. They
Mm.
always got so much things that you can pick
Oh, yeah.
up wisdom
Oh, yeah.
from and you
Yeah.
can help.
Yeah.
And also give you that joy that you're helping somebody who's in need. And I think it's an amazing thing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
back to the community.
Yeah.
Viewers, I promise you, we need to hear the rest of this testimony. This is just one part, and Evangelist Brian, I think we have to get.
I think so too. We
Brother
may have
Isaac
to get him
back
back
to
on.
share the
Yeah,
rest. I mean,
sometime.
I'll have to come back.
Yeah,
I'll have
definitely
to
to share that,
come
because
back.
I believe that it's also another journey that will
That's right.
inspire another
Most definitely.
point of in other people's lives, and
Definitely.
I believe there's a story of many different circumstances.
A lot. Yeah.
And we'll definitely love to have you back to share the rest
Definitely.
of the story with us.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
well, viewers, we thank you for joining us tonight on My Life is My Testimony. And if you watched us live on Omega Live TV. Don't forget, if you have not liked our Facebook page, please hit that like button. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to as well hit that notification button as well, so that whenever we go live, you will be notified. Tonight we have been sponsored by Omega House Multimedia. Omega House Multimedia specializes in photography, videography, and graphic design, printing of all types, flyers, posters, leaflets, business cards, notepads, whatever you can think about. Omega House Multimedia can do it for you. Call them on 020-852-03359. They are located in 74 West Green Road, N15 5NS, just close to Seven Sisters Station. Just contact them and they will be pleased to help you. Tonight, Blooming Scent has also sponsored us. Blooming Scent is a restaurant, cafe located in the Benny Grant Arts Center opposite the Tottenham Bus Garage. If you're around and you want to have a quick meal, just pop in there, and don't forget to mention My Life is My Testimony for a special discount, as well as GEM Educational Consult. They are consultants. If you want to have a course, a degree program, you can go and see them, and they will advise you, help you choose the right course, help you apply for a school, and help you get funding. I believe it's on the screen. If my producer is on the screen, yes, it's on the screen right now. The details are there. They can help you get funding. You can call them on 07904 793019. Email is Pastor Joker is pastorjoeka@yahoo.com. Located at 51 Albany Road, Hornchurch, RM12 4AE. Don't hesitate to call them if you are thinking about furthering your education in terms of a degree or a master's. They will also help you get funding up to 21,000. Tonight it's been a blessing. I believe that somebody's life has been touched. I'm sorry I couldn't read, your comments because the story was packed and we still couldn't finish. But God willing, I promise you we'll get Brother Isaac back into our studios to finish this testimony. I believe we need to hear. I believe you have been touched. I have been touched tonight. And I believe that your life has been transformed tonight. I believe whatever you have been going through, this word that came out tonight has been able to inspire you and encourage you to move on. Never give up. Never give up, because there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. Like I always say, Jesus is always in the business of saving lives. He is always in the business of saving his children. That is why he brought down his son to die for you and I, our sins.
Amen.
And he is ever loving and ever merciful to bring you back into the fold. God bless you, brethren, for watching us tonight. Same time next week, we shall come your way. It's been myself, the host, Bedford Nana Kwesi, and our evangelist, resident evangelist, Bride Adade, and our host here, Brother Isaac Nyarko.
Thank you.
We all say good night, and
Good
may
night,
God
people.
bless you.
God bless you all. Thank you for watching.